Hello, horror fans! Welcome to episode 34 of Funny Book Splatter, a horror comics podcast brought to you by HorrorTalk.com. I'm your host, James Ferguson. This week's guest is Kyle Starks, the writer of Dead of Winter from Oni Press. This is a zombie comic based on the popular tabletop games of the same name, and it is loads of fun. Kyle describes the series as Air Bud meets The Walking Dead. If that doesn't sell you, nothing will. The star is an adorable dog named Sparky, and he's got a cape! How cool is that? Anyway, the first two issues of this 4-issue miniseries are out now, and they are really great. Issue number 3 is set for release on October 18th. In addition to Dead of Winter, Kyle has some other non-horror books that he writes and illustrates, including Sexcastle, Rock Candy Mountain, and Kill Them All, which was just released by Oni Press this week. If you haven't checked out his work yet, you are in for a treat. Kyle can be found online on Twitter as @TheKyleStarks. He also has a Patreon page at patreon.com/Kyle Starks. Alright, that's it for my introduction, folks. Now, let's jump right into my conversation with Kyle Starks on this episode of Funny Book Splatter. So, to start, Dead of Winter, so I have to say, I've read the first issue. I'm completely unfamiliar with the games that it's based on. But if you had to pitch Dead of Winter as like an elevator pitch or something, how would you describe the book?
I mean, my elevator pitch is it's Rin Tin versus the zombie apocalypse. That might be a little bit dated, so we were going more often with it's Air Bud versus The Walking Dead.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great description. Yeah, and I love the dog in it. It's just like there's so much about him that's just like, oh, like this is great. This dog is fighting zombies. It's perfect.
Yeah, no, it's a dog fighting zombies.
Yeah, and I love the line that pops up a few times in the first issue of just like that dog really hates zombies.
Yeah, there's obviously a challenge with doing a book where there's a canine protagonist. So over the course of the 4 issues, I will sort of be unfolding, the depths of Sparky and why he does hate zombies so I mean, an unusual amount.
Yeah, he definitely takes it personal. It's clear, like he's like really anti-undead, I guess you could say. But yeah, that I like how it's addressed, and one of the things that I think this has come up a few times on the show is that there's this fine line between horror and comedy, and like if you put a few laughs into a slasher movie, and you can have an outrageous comedy, and vice versa. And I think this book walks that line very well, and it's humorous when it needs to be, but you're still getting the gravitas of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I am generally professionally sort of an action comedy guy, and my sort of early descriptions was it's what if George Romero did an action comedy. But I think comedy and horror are really similar in terms of technically how to be successful in them is that they're very much mood and pacing. So they can sort of go together, but yeah, you don't want a horror thing that's just a comedy isn't a horror. There's nothing scary about it anymore. I mean, like at best you're going to get some jump scares, which you can't really do in comics easily. So yeah, like it's a real fine line to walk, but it's kind of one I do professionally. It's like, how do you do an action movie that's also funny, but still serious enough to be, to have stakes? It's the same thing with this book, but with horror, with zombies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's and some of your other work I think walks that with things like Sexcastle, where it's just like, oh, it's an outrageous action, but it's also really fun and hilarious to read. So there's this nice blend of the different genres there.
Yeah, that's really what I focus on as a creator. Is I want to put a lot of things together. I want to put all the things I like together in one place. Mm-hmm. Or at least as many as fit in that place, and then when I go to the next one, I'll take the things I did not put in that one into the next one. But I really like the balancing act, like the spinning the dishes on the end of sticks to sort of get some jokes in there, but still, I mean, it's I think doing a zombie book is really difficult in comics because it's difficult to present sort of the vast threat. So you have to kind of, because there's no movement. So at best you can be like, look, here's a picture of a bunch of people, but there's nothing necessarily terrifying about that. Mm-hmm. So part of doing this book, I had to rely on people sort of inherently knowing like, well, this is dangerous and this is dangerous.
Yeah, and I think that comes through, and it's easier, I guess, to put people in those kind of situations and then let them understand, like in a post Walking Dead world, we understand. All right, zombies are terrifying, zombies are dangerous, and you don't have to spend a lot of time to be like, but they're dead and they're walking.
Yeah, you don't have to explain it anymore, which is great.
Yes, and there's a short.
And
end.
I'm a huge proponent of not explaining why they're zombies. I think that's the Romero school, and I stand by it. Dead of Winter as a franchise, it's based on a tabletop game. Mm-hmm. I think sort of implies where the zombies come from, but I really like it being just something terrible that happened. I think it's so much scarier in that way.
Yeah, and because if you get into the weeds, and it's like it kind of takes some of the mystery away from it. It's because if your mind could be filling in the blanks about like, well, what if that caused the zombies? What if this thing would cause the zombies? And then, but if it's something totally far-fetched, like, I don't know, aliens showed up and then dropped something and everyone became zombies. Well,
yeah. Just give it aliens.
Yeah. Like
once there's a solution, it's no fun.
Yeah, definitely. So I like that, not explaining it. Plus, there's too many things, especially in a lot of modern day movies, where they over-explain every little detail, and it just takes all that fun and mystery away from it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a real common trend in sort of contemporary zombie movies that are not zombie movies. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's a virus. It's like, all right, well, I guess, get some medicine. Like that seems like it seems I've always I know that like for a lot of people. Maybe not for your podcast, but I think in general, like, zombies, they're so played out. Of course, everyone still loves zombies. But I'm a Romero guy. I remember watching Day of the Dead in the middle of the night on USA when I was far too young to be watching Day of the Dead at the middle of the night. And it was terrifying to me. But I was younger then, and I didn't even get, like, all of the social commentary. And when I got older, it's like, man, Romero's so smart. R.I.P. for that dude. But it's like, wow, it's such a scary thing because it's man versus nature, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like it's man versus tidal wave, which is on its own scary. But when you add like, oh, well, the tidal wave bites you a lot now, and it's like, well, that's a scarier tidal wave, right? Yeah. It's such a smart premise, and I really like when you add the social commentary to not know why it's there, because if you add, it's like, oh, it's just everyone's getting sick. It's like, well, that removes the idea that it's like maybe it's punishment or all the things you can sort of imagine it to be based on the idea that we're watching this or enjoying this medium that's social commentary. I don't do any social commentary in my book. It's literally, I mean, there's a heart to it. There are human beings involved in this terrible thing, but unfortunately, 4 issues is not enough time to do. But a real true social commentary zombie story, which I feel like needs to sort of be there. It doesn't have to be there, but I think it's really nice when it is there. Because they serve that function so well.
Well, I think there's a time and a place for it, and I think that goes to say for a lot of things, especially when it comes to horror comics, because there's you don't necessarily need a ton of character development for like a slasher kind of story, but you could have character development when it comes to like making a more like a psychological thriller, because if you can relate to the characters there, and same thing with. Inserting comedy or inserting that kind of social commentary. It's sometimes just, well, this is a really fun story about a dog who hates zombies, and you can do that. Zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, he hates them. So are you familiar with the tabletop game at all?
No, like, so what I realized that there's this whole world of tabletop games that I am just like completely removed from, and I realized like a few of them have popped up in my feed over time, like the IDW games for like the Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters, and I'm like, I need friends to play this with, because like
that's the tough part.
Yeah, it's I know it's like a time and a money commitment, but like, man, this would be really fun to do. So I have to get like a gaming group or something together locally to get to try out some of these things, because it looks incredible. And then like when I was looking it up recently, it's like, oh, this is just it's like a big game. You could it's a cooperative game, but like you all have your own little tasks and stuff to do, and sometimes that's against some of the other players, and it's like, this is a really cool idea, and there's been this kind of like revolution in tabletop games lately that I'm just way too late to the party.
Yeah, I went to so Oni, who publishes Dead of Winter, brought me out to Gen Con, which is in Indianapolis, and it's sort of the San Diego Comic-Con of board games.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's huge. So I live in Indiana, so they're like, oh, come, because I'm doing Rick and Morty for Oni.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Rick and Morty writer and occasional artist. Go by Rick and Morty. And so they brought me up because it was maybe not my debut issue, but I had a couple issues. So, you come out and you sign things for a day and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the editor, Charlie Chu, is a huge board game boy. And he's like, oh, you're going to love it. I'm like, buddy, I'm not going to love it. Like, this board game thing is a line. Like, there's a line being crossed. I just don't get it. So I went there, and it's an immense amount of money being spent. So it's to go to a convention where people are spending money, a lot of money, is sort of unusual for someone in the comic industry. Usually you get a little money, but it's to see everyone who goes into Gen Con brings $500, and they intend to bring it. And there's hundreds of thousands of people. It's immense. So anyway, so I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, well, here's, we've been talking to Plaid Hat. We kind of want to do this thing. It's a zombie book. And I'm like, okay, because like I said, I'm a Romero guy. And I think probably everyone has a zombie story they would like to tell. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like it's probably true. And if it's not true, it should be true.
No, I agree. I agree. It's something that everyone has seen. That. Hell, I have one in me and it developed just for me driving past a closed exit on the highway. And I'm like, I wonder why that's closed. And then I'm like, zombies, done. And I'm like, I have this idea in the back of my head.
Yeah. So they're like, do you want to do the zombie book? And I was like, yeah, but not a lot, And they're like, and he's like, and Charlie Chu says, the cool thing about this game is that you can play a dog. And I'm like, go ahead. Like, tell me more. And as it turns out, so the show ended and we went back to play board games because that's what you do. After the show, you play all the board games you bought that day. And I played Dead of Winter, Long Night, which is the second one, with Brian Hurt, who is the cover artist for the series, and also does a book called The Damned with Cullen Bone.
Yeah, and he did Six Gun, which is one of
Six Gun is one of the best books of all time. It's one of the best series of all time. So anyway, I ended up playing Dead of Winter with him, and it was transformative because I didn't understand that board games were like what they are now, which is that to me, it used to be the coolest board game was, I want to say Trouble, that had like the popper in the middle.
Yeah.
Like that was the coolest board game thing that could happen is you did the popper, or like Mousetrap maybe, right? Yeah. But the popper was pretty cool. Now they're just these incredible endeavors of mechanics and like thoughtfulness to make something out of a board. Anyway, they're amazing. And I was going to say real quick, for horror board games, Dead of Winter for sure. Betrayal at House on the Haunted Hill is one of my favorite. It's a great group game. You only need 3 people, and you can do sort of an improv like fun thing. It's one of my favorite games, and a game that I haven't played that I've been told is great is called Last Friday, which is basically you're at Camp Sleepaway. And most of you play the campers and the counselors, and one person plays the slasher who moves hidden, and sort of hunts everyone else down. And it's supposed to be great. It looks great. I played those type of games before, and I love them. Those are my 3 hot wrecks for horror board games, and they're great. I have the same problem. Like I don't have a large group of friends in real life because I'm at conventions every weekend, and I'm married and I'm old. But like they're immensely fun, and it's only X amount of time. I don't want to do a board game thing, but they're very good. I highly recommend those. You're
totally selling me on this. Like I said, I've got to go on Meetup later and just look up like who can I play board games with, because this is it is insane. Like, and I've heard about it from here and there of like, this looks really cool. It might take me a minute to get used to it, but it seems like it's something that you could kind of dive right into and go, all right, yeah, we're playing
for
now.
Sure.
And it's
you just need one person who knows what they're doing. Yeah. One person who knows what they're doing and makes it fun. So some playgroup sort of matters, but I take Betrayal at House on the Haunted Hill to almost every convention, because I can't drink anymore. I'm diabetic, so I can't do sort of the post-party convention scene like I used to. But I can run board games for 5 hours, which is super nerdy. But look, it's where I am now. It keeps me out of trouble, so it's fine. But those are 3 good ones I highly recommend. But Dead of Winter. So Dead of Winter, the sort of sell was like, there's, I believe there's 16 characters in the first game, and they vary. They vary from, they're in the book. There's a police dispatcher, there's a fireman, there's a janitor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh yeah, and there's a dog. And just the idea of any game, because like even video games, like what was I'm not gonna remember the name. Someone's gonna be yelling at me. There was like Max something where you had a dog, like you had a dog buddy. You could get, like, anytime there's a dog, it's always better. Like that's just a fact of all games. And the thing is that Sparky in the game isn't limited because there's no reason to make whole new mechanics. So if Sparky gets, I don't want to do any spoilers in the comic. If Sparky gets a knife, Sparky can use a knife. You know, if you need to use medicine, Sparky can give you medicine. It's just part of the game. So Sparky, even in the confines of this board game, which again is great, I love it. I played it more than any other game, and not for research. I really enjoy playing it. Sparky is like the John McClane. He's like the John McClane of all these characters. He's difficult to kill. He can do everything everyone else can do. His stats are pretty great in terms of the other characters. So like when they're, oh well, do you want to do this? It's like, yeah, but I want to do this. I want to do it with the dog. Like that's that's what pitch? Drew me into the game. Yeah, well, and I think that's kind of what they wanted from the beginning. It's like that's because they wanted it to be different. Like that's what they wanted. They didn't want to do just another zombie book. And it's easy to do that. It would have been really easy to do that. But it's like Sparky's sitting right there. Why would we not? And that was the thing. Like, man, I have a zombie story, but I could not. But a zombie story about this dog that's basically John McClane. I mean, that's unavoidable for me. Like it's like sweet nectar I have to suckle on.
Yeah, just it's like just try to stop me from writing this book about a zombie fighting dog.
Yeah, I wish I could have done more than 4. Like I enjoyed not only that character, because what's interesting is that the game has sort of a narrative to it, but it's has a soft narrative to it. But there's these crossword cards where little events happen, and some of them are character specific. So there's a narrative of the game, but the lady who did the art for the cards, like just her artwork is so emotive. Like you can just look and you go, well, this guy's a bad guy. You know what I mean? Like this guy's a bad guy. This guy's the best guy. This girl, you can just tell by looking. Like they all feel real. So like when the time comes, it's like, oh well, who am I going to use? And I was actually going to use a different character than what I did, but it worked out better to use. It wasn't going to be Carla. It was going to be somebody else. But it worked out better for it to be Carla in terms of the story I wanted to tell. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's the dog. But it's like it's also I know these 16 characters, right? Because I played the game so many times, and I feel like I know who these characters are, even though it's mostly headcanon. But again, I think the artist did such a good job that if I'd be like, hey, I can't think of anyone's names. Like, Luis, he's the best guy, right? He's the fireman.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course, he's the best guy. Of course, he's the best guy. I think you go like, who of the first 16, who would you most want to have a drink with? It's like the trucker. It's absolutely the trucker. Nailed it. Nailed it.
So how much of the characters were already developed in the game, or is it a matter of you just picking it up and running it? Like, was Sparky's backstory already defined in the game, or are you defining it in the comic?
I made it all up. Yeah. I made it all up based on a very elaborate headcanon that I just referenced. That I feel like though, because again, I feel like I don't think there's anything. I mean, the characters I had to make up. There's certain things that are. For example, so Anna Lee Chan, who's in the book, is a lawyer. And in the second issue, no spoilers, I had her do a bit where she lied about what kind of lawyer she was, okay? Because I thought that was funny if she did this big legal like monologue and then was like, yeah, I'm not even that kind of lawyer. But as it turns out, like Anna Lee Chan has her personality card, her one crossroad card is what they're called. She clearly says, like, she's the kind of lawyer I was making a joke about her not being, so I had to change that. But otherwise, everything about that character is, like, I made up. But I feel like, and again, I could be wrong. I don't think I am. I think, like, the way that I play out Louise, the way that I play out Anna Lee, and Carla, well, maybe Carla not so much, but I think Carla's the type of character that becomes a hero. Like, you have to have that. You have to have that person who isn't, in a horror situation, someone has to not be capable, right? Otherwise, there's no real threat. There's just the threat of incompetence. So Carla's probably the least. I think she's relatively nondescript by her card and her crossword card, though I could be mistaken. So mostly it's just like me going, this is what I think these guys are like, and making it up as I go along in a way that is most suited to tell an interesting story, as long as the hero of the story is a dog.
That's like your big, your deal breaker. It's just like, yeah, we'll do any of this stuff. Yeah, okay, I'll change this, I'll do this, but the hero's still got to be the dog.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. And I think if you play the game, like that's, well, yeah, of course, Sparky saves the day. But one of the things I wanted to do, which you'll see as the series, like everyone is solvable except for Sparky, which I think is really important because Sparky is 100% the hero of the story, and he's not in every panel because he doesn't talk. He can't emote or do exposition to further a story. So it's sort of these other people sort of living in Sparky's world that they don't realize it because they think he's just a dog, even though they know. I mean, everyone knows Sparky's an exceptional dog. Ruckus is who I made up. I created Ruckus. He's not from the game. He's my own creation. They wanted new characters, which is awesome because you can get a promo card and play him in the game now.
Oh, that's great.
Which is amazing. I love that game and getting to make a character, and then they put the character in the game. Super stoked, and I got to do a character that I don't think exists in sort of the zombie canon. That's interesting. Which is, like a not cool Daryl, basically. Like Daryl's so cool, right? Like, come on, man. No, he's not. Like that's TV stuff. That guy would not be that cool. And so Ruckus is more of your more common sort of nice guy hillbilly. I think is sort of how we wrote him up. Nice guy redneck. So that's the thing. Is like everyone's sort of fallible except for Sparky. And I think that's a really interesting because he's a dog. He's John McClane. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, I love it. John McClane as a dog who fights zombies like that just sells itself. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd read that book if someone else wrote it. If someone else wrote the book, I'd be like, please.
Yeah. Honestly, if anyone listens to this and from your enthusiasm alone doesn't go out and immediately buy Dead of Winter, there's something wrong with them. So it's just, I love how excited you are about this. It's so great.
Yeah, man, like I'm super lucky. I just did a show in state, and someone asked me about writing other people's properties because I do Rick and Morty and I do Dead of Winter, and they're like, is it hard or blah blah blah? I can't remember what the question was exactly, but I love both of those franchises. It's not like I don't feel like I'm making sausage for somebody. I don't feel like I'm riding someone else's coattails. Like I get to play in these sandboxes that I legitimately love, and it's great. And like I'm sure, like I've been asked to do some stuff that I don't have any interest in, and luckily I'm in a position right now where I don't have to do things like that. Mm-hmm. But man, I love that. I love the game. I really like everyone at Plaid Hat. They're really great people. They sent me a bunch of the promo cards I didn't have, so that's in my hand. Secret. Like they taken care of me. They know how much I love the book, so I have a little bit of free reign. But I also think like they respect my my facilities as a storyteller, that I'm going to do it right and I'm not going to shortchange it. I really hope I get to do another series. I don't think it'll be Sparky, because there's other characters that are interesting. And Sparky, I feel like if we get to do like multiple, because I think the plan would be to do multiple sort of miniseries. Mm-hmm. That way we could bounce around to other characters. But then you always have Sparky sitting there as the biggest possible gun that can come out. It's like your Superman, just kind of like waiting on the bench to come in. Yeah, at some point in series 4, the stakes will become so impossibly high. the readers will go, how do our heroes survive this? And they turn to page 24, and look who it is. It's goddamn the dog. And you just know stuff's about to go down. So it's like, there's other great characters. Like, but I think like the thing is like, well, how do you do it without Sparky? It's like, well, you don't need Sparky. There's other really interesting characters. Sparky helps introduce this world that's full of interesting characters. Yeah, I'd like to have more zombies, and if I did another series, a lot more zombies is what I'd like. Yeah, just up the ante of the zombie quotient. Yeah, I'm really proud of the work I did, and I use zombies in the way that they would be used, the way that you should use zombies, that I didn't get to use them as, like I said, that tidal wave. Like I really want less, because I think the things, and again, I'm a Romero guy. I think the story of these human beings is always more interesting than this threat. Like the threat is just an inevitability, right?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. Well, there is. Like, but a zombie on its own is not as scary as any other monster. Like any other monster 1-to-1, like it's not as scary. It's just not. It's that. Well, now we're hiding in this place and it's being overran. The last place we were hiding in, it was overran. Like it's inevitable that we will die.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that sort of character, like how you deal with that new reality is more interesting than they're going to bite you. Like, I mean, it's pretty, like, no one wants to get bitten and die and then turn into a monster. But to me, for like this first one, I felt like that was what was more interesting. And, you know, sort of the antagonist shows up in issue 2, who I think is interesting and new for zombie books, or a zombie story period, which is what I wanted to do, is some different things. But yeah, if I do another series, I want to have a lot more, like, just the inevitability of zombies in terms of being part of the story.
Yeah, you're right in that a zombie on its own is probably the lamest monster out there, because it's just a slow-moving corpse that, like, you could just walk fast and get away from.
Yeah, like a skeleton, like a skeleton's scarier than a zombie somehow.
Yeah, but because it's like you don't know why a skeleton is walking around, but if you see
how's it walking around?
No, it doesn't make
I know
sense.
exactly, like. I know exactly how to kill a zombie. Everyone knows exactly how to kill it.
Yeah.
Like, there's not like you have to. It's not even complicated. You don't need a silver thing or like
you just gotta hit
a
it
rune.
in the head really hard. That's it.
Yeah, it's easy peasy. Good. You hit a skeleton that's somehow standing up with no tendons or what? I don't know. If you hit it, it just pops back up. Probably, right? I've seen those dancing skeletons.
It's like those little skeleton Koopa Troopas in Mario. It's like you would hit one and it comes
come
right back up. You can't do anything against it. They're invincible.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but zombie. It's what do you could just walk away from. You could push it over. It'll just fall right over. It's like there's nothing doing. But the terror comes in the mob mentality of it when there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 of them, and they're all just coming at you. They overwhelm you. So you might be able to knock one away, but if there's 5 of them all grabbing you, you're done.
Yeah. I feel like for me, again, it's that. The inevitability of it is that eventually you will not be able to outrun them.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually there's never a safe place. There's never been a safe place. Day of Dead had the underground, the subterranean facility, like the subterranean military facility. Like that didn't work out, like there's no safe place. At best you can just keep moving, but eventually, like even if you're the best at keeping moving, like, oh, I'm the best. I've been on the run for 23 years. It's like, yeah, man, you're 56 now. You're gonna throw your hip out eventually.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, like now you're fighting, like, and now you're just the inevitability of normal mortality is going to ruin your zombie running.
Mm-hmm.
See, man, I love zombie stuff. I can go on and on. I think there's so many ways that there's, even as played out, which I think is a fair thing to say. There's so many other things that you can do with that genre. Just in terms of how just looking at it differently.
I think,
man, I love it. I feel bad that it's became like such a trendy thing to hate, because I think they're such good monsters. I think they're my favorite monster.
Yeah, you're right in that it is a trendy thing to hate. It's like, oh no, it's another zombie thing. Like, and I know I've been guilty of it myself. I think what you need now with a zombie story is a good, I don't want to say gimmick, but just something that is a unique spin on it. So it's not just zombies.
I think the reason why is that it's so easy to tell a zombie story, period.
Mm-hmm.
So like there was a bunch of them, and they were all sort of the same, or maybe they were slightly different. Like but it's just like, oh, here we go. Like, there we go, zombie stuff. We all know this is when they get bit. Like right here's when they get bit.
Yeah.
But I think also some of that's a trip, because I definitely do that in Dead of Winter, because there's a point where you're like, well, this is where they get bit. Like, well, yeah, because it's a zombie story.
It's and
someone has to get bit. Yeah, someone has to get bit. Otherwise, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
there's no stakes.
But yeah.
Well, I was gonna say the
the great thing about that is, like, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the inevitability of it too is that, like, you're kind of looking your future in the eye, because if you can run forever and ever, but sooner or later you're gonna end up as the thing you've been running from.
Yeah,
like that's or you're just dead. Period. Like you're gonna starve to death somewhere. But like that's what you're going to end up as, and that's staring you in the face every time you go outside.
Zombies, man.
Yeah.
I'm into them. I think there's a lot of bad zombie stuff, but I mean, I think I will always check out a zombie. Almost always.
Yeah, it's a good it has like its space in there, and I think right now we're in this kind of heyday of zombies in terms of the amount of content that's out there, and sure, The Walking Dead certainly plays a huge part in that, but it's like it's a nice reemergence of it, and I think the social commentary aspect can be just as much, if not more so, part of it today than it's ever been.
Yeah, I think what's great about I feel like Walking Dead, and I'm a comic guy, so I'm referencing maybe more the comics than the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, man, that's old school zombie stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it went old. It's like, no, it's just old school. There's no frills.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. It's like, man, that's a zombie story. Yeah, they don't need to be running fast or have like red demon blood, or I don't know what. Like, there's so many just like, what's going on? Like, why don't they just? It's scary to have a bunch of people walk at you.
Yeah, because again, it's that mob.
Go to the front. Here's what you do: go find a parade, get there early, go stand in the street when they're coming. You'll be scared.
Yeah.
You do that, and those people are happy. They have trombones. It's terrifying to have a bunch of things coming at you.
So you mentioned Romero a lot. Was that your kind of introduction to the horror genre?
Oh, I don't know about that, but probably referencing like bad USA late night movies.
Mm-hmm.
Probably for sure. I don't know if I could. Man, I don't know what the first horror movie I saw. That's a tough one. So
were you like what was that? USA Up All Night? Was that the?
Yeah, there's a bunch of bad stuff, and the thing is, like, I don't think I ever like Day of the Dead is not. It's not the it did not have the best budget, right? I think that's fair to say. So it sort of falls into that. It's like, oh, look, there's another bad movie. Is what it looks like, but it's Romero, man. Like, Romero overcomes that stuff. I think he's really brilliant. In a weird sort of not that, it's like really great ideas, maybe not necessarily like, oh, this is such a good, like, man, just so clever, like so clever. I don't know if I can remember the first scary. I can remember, like, I saw Gremlins in the theater, and I would stay away from cabinets. But like, that's not really. I mean, that's only sort of a horror movie, right? I mean,
yeah. No,
I don't know.
I think Gremlins gets an honorable mention, but I love that what you took away from it is I'm gonna stay away from cabinets. Like,
stay away from cabinets, my dude. I wasn't fucking with a cabinet. I mean, like I'm like our kitchen, so there's two doors. There's a door sort of the bottom left and the upper right. And man, I did a wide berth to get to the other door. You know, like I walked that wall because that's like, that was Gremlins is all jump scares, man. It's all jump scares. And now, of course, I look back and it's like, kid, jump scares, don't fall for it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think jump scares are like, I mean, jump scares always work, but I always feel like it's like, come on, you can do better than that.
Yeah, it's like it's a cheap way to get the scares in.
But I also think, like, you know, with Gremlins, I think at some point I saw it later and I was like, all right, not that scary.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my mom, I don't think my dad was there, but my mom was going to go visit one of her work friends, so she took us with her. And on TV, and I had to have been not a tween even, so like say 8 to 10 probably. And on the television was Cronenberg's The Fly, and I've never been so scared. And no joke, that movie still, like, that's one of the few movies that will still 100% get me. And I honestly, I don't know, it could be like a Gremlin situation where I could watch it right now and be like, all right, no, Kyle, you I mean, you were young, because I've seen it since then. I was still scared. So like body horror always gets me, even bad body horror. So I don't body horror. I don't do it. I know my weaknesses, you know.
That's where you draw the line.
But look, there was one that was on Netflix. It's by the twin sisters. Maybe they're not twin sisters.
Yeah, the Soska sisters, I think it is.
Yeah. It was like American something.
American Mary.
Yeah. Something. I can't remember, but it was called Body Horror the movie.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, no, it wasn't called that. But I mean, to me, I read lines. I read it correctly. I was like, I'm not watching that. I can't do body. There was that Kevin Smith Walrus movie.
Oh, Tusk.
I don't know if that thing's scary or funny. I won't watch that shit. I can't. Fuck that. Kyle doesn't do that. But the thing doesn't bother me in the same way. Like the thing to me feels like, the thing is fucking amazing. But it's like if someone is either made by someone else to alter their body or unintentionally, I don't know. It's a very specific line. It's like Kyle can't do that. But for sure, the fly had definitely fucked me up. Pardon my language.
No, it's good.
Okay, definitely affected me in that I know I don't like body horror, and I know it's because when I was maybe 10 years old, I saw it on someone's television, and that's like, it probably wasn't even on cable television, right? Like, I doubt those people had HBO on.
Yeah, that was like
probably edited.
No, back then, like they would just show it on like Fox. Like you would just be like flipping channels, and it's like, all right, it's Saturday at like 3:00 in the afternoon, and we're gonna show Cronenberg's The Fly because we got nothing else. They had no other content.
It's Cronenberg. Am I wrong with that?
No, you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I think that's when I first saw it too. Is just like flipping channels. It's probably on like like what is now the CW or something where it's just
you know the part that like in my head, like I think about it, the part that creeps me out like 100%. I hope someone is like, this guy is this goddamn Joker who's on this show right now. It's the bit where he's like look at how weird my arm hairs are.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's the part to me that I'm like, ugh, fuck that, gross, fuck. What the fuck? Like, no, man, no.
Doesn't he like peel his fingernails off or something too?
Yeah. And look, I don't like that.
No.
But it's the weird hair, though. It's the weird hair. The weird hair that really bothers me. Oh.
Yeah, but it's funny how that kind of stuff can stay with you for so long. And it's like, I remember watching Jaws as a kid and then like jumping into the pool and knowing full well, like I could see into the water. It's like a 9-foot deep pool, but knowing like, I'm just going to jump out of the water real quick. Like just real quick. Like I'm not going to spend that much time in the middle here. I'm going to jump out again. Because thinking there's a fucking shark in there, and it's like, it's a chlorine freshwater pool. Like it's not, there's no.
You would know if it was in that one. But yes, but Jaws, I mean, come on. Always looking down. Always look down, guys.
Yeah.
Always look down.
Yeah. Even when you use the toilet, you can never be too careful.
Look down. Always look down. That's the number one World War movie.
Always look down.
Maybe not.
Hey,
maybe, but
it's a valid rule, I think.
There'd be less virgin stripping. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm onto something.
Yeah.
Always look down.
Yeah. See, like
that's how you survive.
This is Kyle's guide to horror movies of just always look down. Number one, always look down. Because you're right. Like there's so many situations that could have been avoided, or so many deaths that could have been avoided in horror movies, and they just look down.
You tripped over your dead lover. Come on, he's behind you now. You shouldn't have tripped. You're running away. Tripped over a rock. Come on.
Look down. That's it.
Ghoulies.
Yeah. That guy's
the
dead.
Ghoulies.
That guy's dead. No, he's not. You should have looked down.
No,
you just kept going.
Down. Got the Ghoulies coming out of the toilet. Should have looked down. I guess with aliens you should have looked up, right? Or they? I don't know.
They were all over.
Yeah,
they broke. Well, look, that's in space, so maybe if you were looking down, it's kind of the same thing. There's no real down in space.
Correct. It's arbitrary in space. Yeah, I accept that.
So,
yeah,
going back to Dead of Winter, like, so this is how did you approach a book like this that you're writing but not drawing? You also are an illustrator, so you're writing for someone else. Do you like how much of a script do you work with Gabo, or is that how I pronounce it? Gabo?
Yeah, it's Gabo. It's Gabo. So and Gabo is not really a horror guy at all. The book, he's more, that dude draws a good robot. I'll just put it like that. He draws a very good robot, and Life After is sort of, I think it's more of a light comedy than great comedy. So, it was something that's a little bit out of his wheelhouse, but Gabo is good. Writing for other people is, it's just different. There's pros and cons to both. But when you write, if you're an illustrator and you write for someone else, sort of everything feels like a trust fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I will never make someone else draw as many panels on a page as I would. Like I will. I've in my image book, Rock Candy Mountain, in issue 1, I have like an 18 panel page or 22. I can't even remember because there's so many panels. It's like I would never ask anyone to do that. I would never ever ask anyone to do it unless I felt like it just had to happen, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for me, like I feel like pacing is so important that I will go 2 steps further, and who cares about my wrist? Like in the end, it's interesting. It's different, but it's like as an illustrator, and I think I'm a better writer than I'm an illustrator. I don't feel like that's, I'm writing a lot more books than I'm drawing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I don't feel like is that other people, like I have certain tricks. Like I have certain panel layouts like I like to do over and over. And so I think if you look at the breadth of it, there's a repetition if you're paying enough attention, which is true of almost anybody. So it's nice you bring another artist in. It's like you have these different panel layouts, you have these different perspectives, and they do things a little bit differently. And sometimes it's frustrating because I think visually, as I'm telling my story, like how will it look on the page, and sometimes they don't line up. It's like, oh, well, that's on me because I didn't say it as well as I should have. Mm-hmm. Or just there's a miscommunication somewhere. So, but it's a trust fall, and usually it works out great. I'm real pleased. I think we're on issue. I think he's penciling issue 3 now. It's like, man, there's some great stuff in there, and it's nice that it's different. I think because I think there's sort of the one thing I didn't want, and I expressed this when they're like, oh, we're gonna do a zombie book. It's like I don't want like the sort of scratchy graffiti art that you normally see in every horror comic.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's ink splatters. It's like, man, ink splatters are cool. I'm not like Ben Temple-Smith is my boy. I love Ben Temple-Smith. But I think Ben Temple-Smith set a trend that a lot of people sort of jumped onto. Mm-hmm. And I think it works if you're Ben Temple-Smith, but I don't think it works for everybody. And I feel like it's sort of a really generic way to sort of express scary things are happening. Like, look how shaky these lines are. It's like, there's a lot of that. So I really like Gabo's real clean and just a little cartoony enough to make it feel different.
Yeah,
so it's great. And Gabo's a great dude. I met Gabo at Gen Con actually, and I enjoyed his company immensely, which is always great.
That's good. Yeah, it seems like it's a rarity in today's day and age where writers and artists actually have met each other in real life. So that's also important too. But I think Gabo's style is perfect for a book like this because he can do that kind of cartoony fun style, but still have some of the seriousness. And I mean, Life After has some like crazy, insane stuff in it, whether it's like because it's all in the afterlife, so it's all this crazy shit in there. Yeah,
I think Gabo does good zombie too. Mm-hmm. I think that like you see these people and you're like, oh, look at these, like they're sort of cute people. It's like, oh, that zombie looks like fucking shit though. Like that zombie, it looks gross and it's awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed working with Gabo. And you never know. You just never know how, because I don't have any control over it. And that's, like I said, it's a trust fall. It's always a trust fall. So far in comics, knocking on wood, I've been very lucky that I've worked almost entirely with very professional people who are very good at their job.
I think that's also the industry. Like everyone in this industry is doing it because they love it and they love telling stories this way. So I very rarely have I run into anyone that was like a complete dick. So it's only I can think of one specific time, which I'm not going to reveal on the show, but
Yeah, no, anyone. I mean, I could talk. You can talk trash. There's always someone. You know what I mean? Like everyone has one person who are. Everyone has at least one person that they could certainly do some choice monologuing on with very little persuasion in certain environments. Like never on a podcast. On a podcast, I love everybody, and that's like I said. I would say if I've worked with 10 people in my career, and it's more than that, like 9 of them were not only great, like they were amazing.
Yeah.
There are people who I've been really lucky that. Of everyone that I've worked with, I've met them and liked them. And that's super rare. I think I'm really good friends with Erica Henderson, and like she in her career has worked with Ryan North, Chip Zdarsky, and like Rico Renzi, who's a really great colorist, and that's it. Like, well, that's great. Like that must be amazing. You've only worked with like all-star, like super talented professional people, but I've got more people, but it's almost all great people, which is comics. Some people don't think it's a business. That's the difference. You just never know. But yeah, comics.
Yeah, but
I love them. I do it because I love them. God knows the money's not great.
Well, yeah, that's the unfortunate truth with it is that everyone that's doing this is doing it because they love it. There's they can't all be Robert Kirkman, who I envision just swims around in a big pool of money like Scrooge McDuck.
Oh yeah, there's some people. He's way up there. Like some people aren't sweating it. He's not sweating it.
Yeah.
Good for him. Yeah. And good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, no, like he set out to do something and it's worked out really well. So, but I think that more people are noticing comics than ever before, especially like things like Hollywood and that like, oh, look, you guys just kind of did all the work here and we can just take this and you've effectively storyboarded everything. We could just take it and put it on the big screen now. So, and
there's already built an audience.
Yeah. And then you just find people that have similar interests. Like it's kind of silly that it took this long, but I don't think that this bubble is going to burst anytime soon. I think that there's, especially as people get past the superhero, and there's so much this wealth of stories, especially from folks like Oni. It's like why not have all these things?
Sexcastle.
Yeah, Sexcastle too. Yes, can't forget Sexcastle.
Well, Sexcastle was optioned.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it's optioned by the Russo brothers and the Workaholics. So.
Oh shit, that's great.
Yeah. Hopefully people are ready to like any comic property as a film.
Well, that's great. So wait, you have Sexcastle's done, but that was like a one and done graphic novel, but you also had Rock Candy Mountain. Is that still going?
Yeah, Rock Candy Mountain is on. It's sort of they do like a trade paperback hiatus.
Yeah.
So I'm on my hiatus. It comes back in November with issue number 5. I'm really stoked. It's going to go through 8 issues, 2 trades. I'm immensely proud of it. I'm as proud of that book as I am Sexcastle, which is my baby, my perfect, sweet, loving baby that is full of profanity. But Sexcastle, I mean, when I did Sexcastle, just to do something basically, and it did so well. Like this is my career now, like there's a real weird sea change that came from a book called Sexcastle. But Sexcastle was nominated for an Eisner for Best Humor Publication. Sexcastle from Image Comics. It's a 220-page book. You can get it for $16. They just reprinted it. It's beautiful. But it was nominated for an Eisner for Best Humor Publication, and that got me Rick and Morty. I've been on Rick and Morty for since issue 16, and we're on issue 31 now. Wow. So over almost a year and a half, and I'm on it forever. Like I'm the Rick and Morty comic book guy. And Sexcastle got me Rock Candy Mountain, which again I'm immensely proud of. I have a book coming out at the end of we can do this again at the end, right? I can do this at least twice. I can do my pitch.
Yeah, go for it.
At the end of this month from Oni, they are doing another OGN, which is a 180-page book called Kill Them All, which is sort of a love letter to John Woo movies. And of course, Dead of Winter is going to go on for the next 3 months. It's a 4-issue miniseries that I would love to do a series too. So you got to buy those. You got to buy the crap out of them.
Definitely. I think by the time this episode drops, issue 2 will be out. That comes out on September 13th. But yeah, like I love the first issue, and I'm really looking forward to where it's going next. And I think it's awesome, like based off of your success in comic, like you said, like this is your career now. So like you're able to quit your day job and jump into comics full time, and that's a really great story.
Yeah, it's weird. It's unexpected. It's unexpected for sure.
Well, look, you're living the dream. It's just like you got to work in funny books for this for your living. Like that's great. There's tons of people that are dreaming of that right now.
Yeah. There's no money in it.
Well, do you have like a Patreon or anything set up?
I do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com / whatever Kyle Starks, one word. And Patreon sort of, I love Patreon. It's weird for someone who works like I do, which is to say because I think I love Patreon. This is a tangent I can go on because I did 3 Kickstarter books. I love crowdfunding. I wish I could just kickstart things, and I could financially I did well enough. I probably could, but there's no longevity to it, and you're dealing with such a small group.
Yeah.
But it's so intimate, and it's so intimate. I love it. Patreon's great, I think, for podcasts, YouTubers, webcomics. I think for those 3 things, Patreon is amazing because you can give early content. You can give additional content that you wouldn't get otherwise. With like I'm doing a monthly book, I can't really be like, hey, watch me work on, this issue of Rock Candy Mountain that won't be out for 4 months because it's spoilers. So I try to do a lot of like art giveaways, and I talk business a ton. I do like Google Hangouts, and I talk business, and I give free art away. And I do a lot of giveaways with my books. Whenever I get new books in, I always do giveaways and pins and garbage like that. But it's weird. I think it's weird for people like me who are professional comic book makers. But again, I say that, and I couldn't pay my bills without Patreon, and that's not even a shoot. That's for real.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's developed really well, especially for comic folks lately, and whether it's web comics or like even writers are getting involved with the platform now, which has been a really cool setup because they can offer that. So I've seen like Jim Zub, John Lees, like these are folks that are out there putting out there saying, look, this is how I write. These are all my scripts. Like this is how I pitch. And it's like if you want to write, you can see that. If you want to draw, you can see that. So there's a lot of content available there.
Yeah, we do all that stuff. Yeah, for sure.
And it's
I love it because you get to interact. You get to interact with a smaller group of people.
Yeah, and those are like your diehard fans that are like super into you. So that way, it's like you know that these are the folks that are going to be the most appreciative of everything that you put on there. Yep,
for sure. My group for Patreon, which I keep thinking at some point it will change because, like I said, I mean, for the most part, I'm the Rick and Morty guy. I'm the Rick and Morty comic book guy.
Yeah.
When I go to shows, people don't want to buy. That's not entirely true. I'm generalizing, but I sell 5 to 1 Rick and Morty stuff to everything else, right? Clearly, the service I'm providing to the show is a specific one, and the majority of the money I make is from a specific property, which is Rick and Morty, which I love. Again, but the people on my Patreon, they could care less.
Mm-hmm.
They could care. Like, when I do a giveaway, I don't ever do Rick and Morty stuff because they don't care. They want Rock Candy Mountain, or they want Kill Them All, or they want something that I worked on. A mini comic or whatever, which I love. Like those are the people who want Kyle Starks. They don't just want whatever X property I've been working on at the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Heartwarming.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a great self-esteem boost too, especially in I feel like in this world, in this industry, you end up in a lot of situations where it's just like, working in the basement by yourself, and then it's like, oh, I'm worthless or something, and then to go on something like Patreon and say, oh, look, all these people love me, and they're all willing to give me money every month to do what I'm doing, is a big deal.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know, you people are. Kickstarter is the same way. Kickstarter, I had a really successful Kickstarter. I did Kill Them All, which again is coming out from Oni Press at the end of this month. As is Volume 1 of Rock Candy Mountain. It's a big month for me, 4 books this month. 4 books in 1 month, which is crazy. Crazy. And one of them killed Rock Candy Mountain was on like Barnes & Noble's Comics of the Month. Like stuff like that's crazy. It's a crazy... If there's Kyle Starks 2 years ago, and I'd be like, guess what you're doing, man? He'd be like, I don't know, man. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like bullshit. I'd be like, yeah. But even with Kickstarter, like my last Kickstarter, which was Kill Them All, which is being reprinted in color by Oni, it's beautiful, it's great. Was really successful. But like it's 500 books, and like I know those people by name. You know what I mean? Like I get an individual response. We sold 11,000 copies of Rock Candy Mountain #1, which isn't great numbers. It's fine. I don't know who those people are. I have no idea. I don't know if they read it, but I know those 500 people on Kickstarter did. I know that 90 people on Patreon for sure did. And I have, almost 3,000 Twitter followers. I don't know how many of those people give a shit. I know 90 do for sure because they're my Patreon. So it's great. It's great, like formula. I think they all. I mean, I'm not knocking my Twitter followers. I wish I had 8 million. I wish they were all super excited. But I know, like you were saying, like there's those hardcore that group that is referencing a webcomic that never published. Like those are the people like who you lose your stuff over.
Those are the real MVPs.
Yeah, I mean those are the guys. Like frankly, those are the guys like who could ask for the moon and get it too.
Yeah.
Because like. It's like on the same, like I'll send stuff internationally and they're like, well, shipping sucks. It's like, yeah, well, whatever. Like it's awesome that you've done this for 6 months because you didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know it's $6 to you, but it's like it means immensely more to me.
Yeah.
And anyone who does Patreon will say that. Like you're like, oh, it's just $6. Like no, man, it's not just your $6 though. And over 6 months, right? It's not just your dollar. All those dollars add up.
Yeah, because it's.
I wish Patreon existed like 20 years ago.
Well, it would be incredible how the industry could have been changed 20 years ago. Like, I mean, granted, look, 25 years ago, Image Comics started, so that certainly changed a lot of things. But I feel like there's, all these creators and all these you see all these horror stories of elderly comic creators that were responsible for so many great things of things that define so many childhoods, and they're falling on hard times because they just don't have any savings or any sort of health care or something like that. So it's rough. Yeah, if Patreon existed, years ago, it would have been a big deal.
I just think it would have been like just if I wish that Patreon even my Patreon's been going on only a couple of years. It didn't exist. I don't think. Maybe it started when I knew I was losing my vanilla job. But I think if where I am now, if I could be like, oh, again, 6 years ago, when I had good money, you're like, well, what's 1 hour? Like, what's 1 hour for me to give, $20 to 20 people?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I won't miss it. But I always think like, well, I wouldn't miss $5. Like, no one's missing $5. And if you are, like, I'm sorry, that's unfortunate. But you think $5, 5 people, and you think, well, it doesn't mean anything. But one, you'll probably get something out of it. Something like Chris Schweitzer, who's my colorist on Rock Candy Mountain, is always doing these drawings. Like, he posts these drawings they do, and they're awesome. And you maybe would have seen them on Twitter, but there's like a 50% chance that you just didn't see that post that day, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But on this, like, you're definitely seeing it. It only costs you $1. You can see this amazing artwork that no one else gets to see. Because it's I can't think of the word. Like, it's research drawings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just like him goofing around.
Yeah, it's practice
it's
kind of stuff.
It's just practice stuff. Or for Jim Rugg, you get to see pages for his next thing like months in advance. It's like, what's $5, man? Pick 5 people and give them all $1. And I feel like the thing is, like, and again, this is we're just a horror package about Patreon.
Yeah.
How about the horror of me not having Patreon and who pays my electric bill? But I think even in my head, like, even now, it's like when I'm on the receiving end, I think, well, what's $1? You think what's $1 to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I mean, there's just like, well, $1, you can't even buy a soda with $1 anymore.
Yeah.
But on the opposite end of that, it's not you. It's just that $1 means so much, because if you'll do it, then 10 other people will do it. And even then $10 isn't that much, but if 10 people do it, I have 90 people. I think I have 90 Patreons, and they vary. I think very few give $1, but that's just because they're the best. They're the absolute best. But I would rather have 1,000 people give me $1 than 400 people give me $5.
Yeah, those are the people that are more, your diehard fans that are coming to you for your stuff and they're willing to throw down a couple bucks just because they like your work.
Yeah, guys, here's what I want you to say. If you're listening to the podcast, you want to go play Dead of Winter and Betrayal at House on Haunted Hill. You got to play those board games. They're so good. And also give $5 on Patreon to somebody. Me, Cow Stark. /Cow Stark. No, not me. But there's I guarantee there's that podcast you like that you don't pay anything to get off iTunes. They probably have a Patreon. Give them $1. That YouTuber you like, give them $1. Like, they have a Patreon. Give them $1.
I'm gonna have to start a Patreon for this show now. So
I'll give it to this podcast. Save all your dollars, everyone listening, and get ready to give this podcast $1.
Well, like, I think that
you should have. I think all podcasts should have a Patreon. Why not? What's it gonna hurt? What if, like, you think, well, I'm only getting. I know it seems like, I'm only getting $25. It's like, all right, well, that's a movie a month.
Yeah, that's
like that at the theater. At the theater.
Yeah, I mean that
right?
that would more than pay for hosting if I had $25 a month that was coming.
Yeah, there you go. And that's the thing. Even if it's just a little bit, and you're like, well, it's not really worth it. It's like, you don't have to. These are your fans, and for the most part, they're just glad to give you $1 to keep you working.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is on top. It's like, and you don't have to. It's low effort. The more effort you put into it, I mean, I don't know. You put as much as I wish I did more. I wish I could do more, but I'm busy. I'm busy. But I have all intentions of at some point doing webcomics again, and my patrons are going to benefit from that.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's like, whatever edited out. It's like, hey, here's the part where here's how I interviewed George Romero, and he coughed for 15 minutes. This is 15 minutes of George Romero coughing on that. That's awesome. Like, it seems like nothing, but it's like, that's pretty interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, look, you summed it up perfectly, and I'm gonna have that's gonna give me the kick in the pants I need to finally set up the Patreon for this. I wanted to get a good base on it. And, now I'm over 30 episodes into the show, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. So yeah, we're gonna keep going. But yeah, like, I think that's a perfect note of positivity to wrap this up. And we'll definitely link to your Patreon account on the in the show notes. Otherwise, is there any other place you want to direct people to find you online?
I'm at the Kyle Starks pretty much everywhere, Facebook and Twitter, and I don't know, Sarah whatever the hell that thing was. I think I'm on there. I don't know. The Kyle Starks, I'm everywhere. Go buy my comics. They're very good. I have 4 coming out this month. Rock Candy Mountain Volume 1. So good. Dead of Winter. You should read about a dog fighting zombies. Did you guys hear? It's great.
Yeah, and we'll of course link that up in the show notes. I reviewed the first issue and really dug it. I'm looking forward to the second one, which drops on September 13th. So that is it then, folks. So this has been Funny Book Splatter. I'm James Ferguson with my guest Kyle Starks. You've been listening to Funny Book Splatter, a horror comics podcast brought to you by HorrorTalk.com. We've been bringing you the best in horror since 2002. In addition to comics, we cover movies, TV shows, books, and video games. We've got news, reviews, guest features, interviews, unboxing videos, and much more. Be sure to sign up to Steve's Deals newsletter to increase your horror collection without breaking the bank. Check us out at HorrorTalk.com and at HorrorTalk on Twitter.